Welcome to the Adhocracy Show. On today's show,
What is public domain?
what is copyright?
What does Mickey Mouse have to do with all of this?
I don't know. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm JD Melville.
And I'm David Landeen, and welcome to the Adhocracy Show, where we geek out about advertising, marketing, art, and design.
And thank you so much for joining us. Today we are talking about copyright.
At the beginning of this video, you probably saw an ad.
Yeah, we monetize our ad, our YouTube channel.
That's how we make pennies and, hopefully someday dollars. And so, when you upload a video and you monetize your channel, and you upload a video with anything that you don't own,
like music or photos or video from someone else,
then you can get a copyright notice saying, hey, you don't own this, you can't monetize this channel. And you can actually go in and say, I think that I should be able to monetize this channel, or you can dispute the copyright notice. And it gives you a whole bunch of reasons about why you think that you shouldn't have this. And one of those options is the content is in the public domain or is not eligible for copyright protection.
But what does that mean?
So you have to kind of figure out what's public domain in the first place. And public domain basically means it's not protected under copyright. So it belongs to the public. It's the domain of the public.
Yeah, and this also comes up when creating art, especially on my side of things, and probably on your side as well. When someone says, "Oh, just take this image from Google, take this music that I found on this website, use the video that these people put out."
Yeah.
Some people are under the understanding that, okay, if it's on the web, it's in public domain because I can access it. I'm the public.
That's completely false.
That's untrue. And so today we're going to go through a little bit of the history of copyright, of what public domain is.
Yeah, if it's in the public domain, you can use that.
Absolutely.
That's free to you, and you can make money off of it, and you can change it, and you can. We love public domain as creators.
Now we're only talking really about the laws here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Laws outside of our country have their own laws, and just for the record, we're not lawyers.
No. We are moderately successful YouTube creators.
Yeah.
And we're being kind of vague on, I don't know if we can even call ourselves moderately successful, but we are YouTube creators, not lawyers.
Yeah, this is just the basics. If you have questions, it would probably be best to hire a copyright lawyer. And in fact, I think we should bring one on at some point.
That would be a good idea.
We're going to we'll do a show specifically on copyright law because there's a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting points that we can get through on that. But today we're talking about public domain.
Okay. History of copyright. This is the first thing you really need to understand in order to understand public domain. Because if it's not copyrighted, because there's a term. Okay, so here we go. 1970 or 1790. There's a difference there. Copyright in the U.S. was passed. A copyright first law was passed, and it said you can copyright it for 14 years after you create it, and then you can renew it after that expires for another 14 years. So 28 years total, and it would copyright books, maps, and charts. That's really all they cared about back then.
That was what content was. Music protection was added to this law in 1831, and the copyright term was extended to 28 years with the ability to extend for 14.
Okay, then in 1870, they added art. They finally started caring about copywriting art. And authors were able to copyright translations or dramatizations of their original work. So that was also included on what you could copyright. And they started keeping track of what was copyrighted.
Which might be useful.
It could be.
So then in 1909, they extended the extended term to 28 years.
So at that point, you have 28 years copyright, 28 years renewal. Now, if you forgot to renew it, then it was gone.
It was in public domain.
Yeah, it was public domain. So 28 years, so total maximum as of 1909, it could be 56 years. Then in 1976, everything started becoming kind of how we have it now. It was the fourth revision of the original Copyright Act, and they said, okay, instead of doing this renewal, let's just say the life of the artist plus 50 years.
Okay.
Now, we should probably mention that things made by corporations or two people, they had different laws. We're just talking about, this is very basic, like we said. So at this point, it's life of the author plus 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then in 1998, the Sonny Bono Act, you may know him from such things as Sonny and Cher. You probably don't. If you're watching YouTube and you're like into that, that might be a little old for you. The Sonny Bono Act was passed and established copyright law that we have today, which it also froze the advancement of works covered by older fixed terms. It also extended our protection time for our author's life plus 70 years. So until I die, there's 70 years after that people can't use my stuff.
Yeah, so they was so complicated at that point. There's like, okay, let's just freeze everything, and now we're just going to say author's life plus 70 years. Now today you actually don't even have to register. I mean, you can register your work, but as soon as you create it in a permanent form, whether that's a digital permanent form or
once you save the format, you take the picture
that's yours. That is your work, and it is copyrighted. They actually, if you're worried about something, they do encourage you to register, and you can register that because that proves the date, like the time you created it. There's been times where two people have created something, and like they had to, like, one person copyrighted it, and so there's actually there's also poor man's copyright. We really should bring on a copyright lawyer to explain a lot of this stuff.
Well, that's a lot of history, and that just gives us the basics so that you understand where it came from, where we are today. That's the basic of that, right?
Yeah. So let's kind of here's the basics of what we just said. Sonny Bono Act stated that works made in 1923 or afterwards were still protected by copyright law and were still protected by copyright law in 1998. So anything kind of between those two dates, 1922 to 1998, they won't enter public domain until 2019 or afterwards, kind of. So there's a lot of things in there. For instance, so a good rule of thumb, if it's before 1923, you're good.
That's why
that's not always true either.
That's why you'll see in video and other things the black and white footage of bombs being dropped and kids hiding under desks and that kind of stuff. Old stuff. That's why you see that stuff.
Yeah,
because it's before 1923.
That's public domain. But works published in the U.S. after 1922, but before 1964, they have a 95-year term. So as long as they renewed the copyright after the 28th year, at the 28th year. Yeah. So as long as they remember to renew, if they didn't, it's public domain. And
and then works between 1964 and 1977 have the flat 95-year term.
Yeah.
And then works after 1977 have a term of the author's life plus 70.
So this is super confusing. So
this is like going into an art history class where they're just saying dates and you're like, okay, yeah, I got that.
But there's other ways. So that's public domain means it's no longer copyrighted. But there's other ways for things to enter into public domain. Right. For instance, because we deal with YouTube Music has different ways that you have to give credit to the author. You have to, and they tell you. But there's one that's called Creative Commons. A lot of YouTube music is Creative Commons, which means the author released it into the public domain, or the author made it specifically for the public domain. It kind of means that if it says CC0 or CC0 or Creative Commons 0, that's where you don't have to worry about. It's Creative Commons, it's public domain worldwide.
Anyone can use it anywhere.
Yeah, because other countries have different public domain rules, but Creative Commons 0 is you're good. That's a great thing to have.
There are also other types of works that are that aren't covered by copyright law, and those works are in the public domain. Short phrases such as "beam me up," "show me the money," are not protected. However, short phrases can be trademarked. That goes into trademark law.
Which we're not even going to touch on this one.
We'll bring on a trademark lawyer.
There you go.
Someone who's smarter than us on that.
Somebody who went to school instead of studied for a few hours. Finally, U.S. government works are not covered. Oh, facts and theories. That's another one we should mention. Facts and theories by scientists are not covered. You can't say gravity is copyrighted. You can't talk about gravity.
Don't talk about if you talk about gravity, you owe me money.
Yeah, but a theory can be copyrighted but kind of by the way it's expressed. So let's say like black holes or dark matter. Any of those are scientific theories. If somebody makes a movie about dark matter, then the movie is copyrighted. Even though it uses a scientific theory, it still is copyrighted. The theory isn't, but the work produced and the way it's expressed is.
Okay. And like you were saying, governmental things, U.S. government works cannot be copyrighted. So if you work for the U.S. government, you come up with something that has something to do with your job, your capacity, what you're doing, can't be copyrighted. That's in public domain.
So a lot of the speeches, like presidential speeches, those are actually public domain.
Yeah.
Now,
though you may find laws on certain types of, like money.
That money is in public domain. You can't reproduce that. All right. So to recap, what is in the public domain?
Anything that has expired from its copyright.
Anything where the copyright owner failed to follow the copyright renewal rules.
Anything that was actually created and made for public domain.
And anything that copyright law does not protect.
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't noticed, copyright law is confusing. So rather than trying to say, well, I'm pretty sure this isn't copyrighted, just go check.
Right.
Just find out.
Now, there's also a little interesting side story that goes along with this, and that is the story of Mickey Mouse. Now, because Mickey Mouse is a corporate work, and because
he was made a long time ago.
He actually, by this time, under law, would be in public domain.
Yeah, he was created in 1928. That was Steamboat Willie. That was the first cartoon, the first drawings of Mickey Mouse. And at that point, the maximum was 56 years. You could only copyright Mickey Mouse for 56 years.
So that would have been 1984, 2 years after I was born.
But what happened was, around that same time, coincidentally, all of a sudden copyright laws changed, and they said, "Hey."
Disney did a lot of lobbying and work because this is their work. This is what they have an empire basically built on.
In 1976, that's when kind of, if you remember, copyright law started taking the form that we know it today, and they said, let's just do with corporations, it got extended to 75 years. So corporate works went from 56 years to 75 years.
Which gave him until 2003.
But
so
then,
as it got closer to that, Disney again started lobbying for...
1998, we have the Sonny Bono Act.
Yep.
That extended it to 95 years, which puts Mickey's public domain date at 2023. Now, if you actually think that Mickey Mouse is going to enter public domain in 2023... you don't understand how the laws of our country work.
with how Disney is, owns just about everything. There's like the 3 companies that own everything in the world.
So unless somebody majorly messes up, you're gonna probably see copyright law happen to change again, just right around 2023.
And it's interesting because definitely more legislation will come. People will talk about this, and it probably needs to be looked at again and again because.
The way
things
always
are
changing.
created. Yeah, what happens when we get into 3D, and can 3D be protected? Or I don't know. There's an interesting quote from an author that says, we are the first generation to deny our own culture to ourselves, since no work created during your lifetime will, without conscientious action by its creator, become available to you for you to build on.
So we're kind of like, because of our desire for as much ownership. I mean, could you imagine how much creativity there could be without copyright, where you could take this and you could build on that, and you could take this patent and you could try and do something more with that. But it's true, there probably copyright probably has slowed down progression, but they're kind of
there's kind of a balance, right?
It definitely is.
You definitely don't want Mickey to enter public domain because you don't want to see him selling something that's not Disney, right?
Yeah.
And Disney has that interest in mind, and not to say that Disney was the reason why these laws changed, because I'm sure that Warner Brothers with Looney Tunes and all these other there are other characters and people that are of course going to want to protect their their trademarks.
Yeah. So this has been a very complicated, not as brief as we wanted, look at public domain and copyright.
But now you know.
Yeah.
The more you know.
So, here's your question that you can discuss in the comments. Try and figure out when Harry Potter will become public domain if J.K. Rowling lives to be 90 and all laws stay exactly as they are right now.
Oh, shoot.
Good luck. I think it takes math.
The maths.
Yeah.
If you're from England.
Yes. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to this channel. If you like what you saw, please click that subscribe button.
Yeah, and join us over on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're there chatting with people, talking, showing things.
And to celebrate the middle of the week that you made it here, hopefully through this, here's a video for you to watch.
Enjoy.
Back in the 20s, our copyright system worked the way it was supposed to. An artist who created a new work could claim the exclusive right to it for 56 years. Long enough to make a healthy profit for pretty much their entire lifetime. After that, the work entered the public domain, giving everyone the right to copy, share, and use it to create works of their own.